Hello everyone. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. I'm currently having some problems with my 2 part-time jobs I'm working interfering with my uploading schedule, so I'm really sorry about that. If you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. I would love to have you as a subscriber. My current goal for sub counts is 500, so I'd really appreciate it if you could help me meet that goal. In this video today, I'm going to be painting zip pouches. I had a video a year or two ago where I did that, and I haven't done it since, so it's long overdue to revisit it. And this time, I thought I would give them a Hocus Pocus theme in honor of Hocus Pocus 2, which just came out on September 30th. I have nothing else to say as usual, so let's start spoopy season. I'm taking out the zip pouch, dusting it off, and now I'm sketching out the design, which you can't see because apparently we are starting right off the bat with a dot interruption. Probably an obvious choice, but I'm starting out with my favorite Sanderson sister, Winifred. I feel like she's just the right one to start with, being the leader and all. When I had the outline sketched out in pencil, I went over it to neaten the line work up with some paint markers. Even though I'm just going to be painting over the outlines, I figured I should still use similar colors for the outlines just to avoid any color contamination. So I'm outlining the collar of her dress green and her hair orange. Now I'm just folding up a paper towel and putting it into the bag, that way the paint won't seep through onto the other side. Now I'm squeezing some orange paint into my very unkempt and gross looking paint palette. Now I can actually move on to the painting part, so that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not sure why it is, but I've always felt like I'm much better at painting than I am at drawing, and you would think it would be the other way around, because for some reason painting just seems like it's so much more complicated. I've always seen it as a fancy kind of coloring though, and coloring isn't that difficult, not for most people anyway. So I just figured I was always better with painting than drawing because it's just more simple. I like that you don't have to worry about how bad the sketch looks because the paint just somehow always fixes it. Anyway, once I finished coloring in Winifred, or painting her in I guess, I had to add the background coat of paint and that was really annoying.
2 hours later.
When the majority of it was all done, I went in with a smaller brush to go around the outline, that way I wouldn't have to worry about getting any black paint onto the design because I would be very upset if that happened. Honestly, I was really pleased with how this was looking. I really like this simplistic portrait style. I first found it somewhere on Etsy and I really liked how it looked. While Winifred's bag was drying, I moved on to Mary. Her hairstyle was pretty tricky, and I think that's because it's crooked. Even when her head is straight, it still kind of leans off to the side, so I had to figure out how to make that effect without making it look like her head was tilted. I figured I'd just deal with that when I was painting in her skin tone. So I just outlined her collar and her hair in similar colors and then began painting them in. Something I really love about the Sanderson sisters is even though they all bicker and don't get along most of the time, they do end up making a good team, and it's just funny to see them interact, and I love how different they all look and act from each other. Even though Winifred is my favorite, I would say Mary is a pretty close second. I think for the most part, she's definitely the comical relief, and I just love how supportive and loyal she is to her sisters. Once again, I had the painful task of painting in the background. While doing that, I nearly scared myself to death when I dropped this glob of black paint right next to Mary's face. Thankfully, it didn't do any damage. However, I did encounter a problem when I realized that her hair was black and the background was black, so I just quickly outlined that with some purple since Mary does have purple highlights in her hair. Problem solved.
I know. Thank you.
After finishing the hair outline, I just filled in the black next to the rest of her silhouette, and then I set her aside to dry as well. Now it's time for Sarah. Honestly, I think Sarah is very overlooked. I know a lot of people consider her the prettiest Sanderson sister, and that's great and all, but she's actually really funny, and she has some of the best moments in the movie. I think one of my favorite of her moments is when Winifred was asking, "Why was I cursed with such idiot sisters?" And Sarah's just there playing with a roll of toilet paper, and she says, "Just lucky, I guess." She is so funny, and I don't think she gets enough credit for that. She was probably the most difficult for me. I ended up making her face too wide, and then to fix it, I tried to make her neck longer, and then that just made everything disproportionate, so then I had to lengthen her hair, and it was pretty tricky. As you can see, I got impatient with painting the background, so I just squeezed paint directly onto the pouch, and it still ended up taking forever.
3 days later.
When I was finally done with the background and painting closer to the silhouette, it started to look a lot nicer. The lighting, for whatever reason, was atrocious for this one. I'm not sure if it was the colors or what, but I promise it does not look this crappy, otherwise I wouldn't say it's tolerable. I made her hair a bit more wavy with the black, and I think that looked good too. I also made her dress a bit more low cut, and I think that these changes helped tremendously. Once they were dry the next day, I flipped over the Winifred one and painted the entire back orange. While letting that dry, I took the Mary one and I took this very dry and stiff brush and I dipped it in red paint to match her dress, and I just gave very dry, rough strokes onto the black background. I completely forgot to do this to the Winifred one, but I wanted to do it to all three of them, but now I guess I'll have to wait for the back of the Winifred one to dry. I thought doing the rough brush strokes would make the backgrounds look a little less boring, and I thought they were just a nice splash of color. When I had finished the brush strokes on Mary's bag, I went ahead and did the same thing to Sarah's except with purple paint. Then I went back to Mary's bag and I just painted a little quote at the bottom. For Mary's quote, I painted "I smell children," and I know that it looks a little rough, but I actually thought that would be a nice effect and make the letters look a little more creepy. After I finished Mary's quote, I moved on to Sarah's, and I gave her the quote, "Come little children," because that's the song that she sings to lure children to her. I felt bad because I couldn't think of any other Sarah quotes to use other than this one, but I think it still makes the bag look really cool because it's such a creepy line. And now back to the Winifred bag. Since the paint on the back has finally dried, now I'm just giving the front green brush strokes. I don't remember having this issue last time, but these things slide around so much when I paint them. For her quote, I'm putting "Dost thou comprehend?" I know it's such a meaningless line, but I think it's just the way she says it and her facial expression when she's saying it to her sisters. It's so funny, and I've always loved that part. Since the letters are a very thin coat of paint, they hardly take any time to dry, so I just immediately flipped it over and started painting a quote on the orange side. The quote that I'm painting on it is, "It's all just a bunch of hocus pocus," which I'm sure that anyone who's seen the movie will remember. It's what Max said before he lit the black flame candle which summoned the Sanderson sisters back from the dead. Normally it would be really annoying how the canvas just soaks up all of the paint, but in this case, like I said, it does work. I like the effect it gives the letters. So thankfully, what normally would have been a huge inconvenience ended up working in my favor this time around. I suppose I could have used my paint markers for this project, but unfortunately my white one is just about all dried out, and I just wanted this to be nothing but paint. I felt like I was neglecting my acrylic paint, so I just wanted to show it some love. Here are the finished zip pouches, featuring some paint peeled off the nozzle of a paint tube. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you stuck around to the end. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. I'd really appreciate it if you'd help me reach my goal of 500. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite and which Sanderson sister is your favorite. As I mentioned earlier, Winifred is definitely mine. Once again, I just wanted to apologize for my upload schedule being so inconsistent. As I mentioned earlier, I am trying to balance YouTube with 2 jobs, and that's not easy. My goal is to one day just have YouTube be my job. I think it would be a great career, and it would just make me really happy. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And share this video with a friend that likes Halloween or Hocus Pocus, or someone that would just like my content in general. I will see you guys next time with another Halloween-themed video. Bye!